Hello and welcome back. Here I am at a public pond, and today I am going to be fishing with this fancy JDM rod, reel, and line. You know, I'm not necessarily the type of angler that buys stuff from overseas very often. I typically just buy stuff domestically. I feel like it's easier. It's just my style. That being said, as I continue to work on becoming the best ultralight fishing resource that I can be, a lot of you have recommended some JDM gear. And that's why I picked up this Shimano Soare BB. I don't know if I said that right. It's a 500 size reel. This is a Daiwa Gecko something or other. It's an aging style rod. I don't know. I'm not saying this stuff right probably. And then I've got 1.75 pound test line on there. Super fancy stuff. Honestly, hopefully I don't break off today. I don't even know how to read it. I'm not sure what I'm using here, but it looks fancy. It sounds fancy, and hopefully it catches me some fish. All in all, just want to catch whatever's willing to bite. You know, we've got actually quite a bit of wind. I'm hunkered down behind some bushes right now to kind of stay out of it because I'm using really light stuff. I'm using a 1/64 ounce jig to start. So really want to stay away from the wind. Just want to catch some fish, hopefully some bluegill, hopefully some pumpkin seed, whatever's willing to bite, I will certainly take. Let's get started. All right, first cast. This stuff is literally like so fine. It is like Barbie hair. Oh my gosh, I can zing that thing out there. 1/64 ounce mule jig with a donkey tail junior on there. And I purposely went super light because I want to keep it slow rate of fall and keep it above the weed bed. Obviously I just caught grass there, so there's a lot of grass in here. It's a shallow pond. I plan to do a video specifically about this rod at some point, so I'm not necessarily going to talk about all the details. Mostly I just want to test it out and just see what we can catch. I'm mostly interested in the line today, if I'm being honest. This line is so light. Oh my gosh, she hammered it. My line just jumped like crazy. And this is where I knew this was going to be fun. Nice little sunfish here, I think. Unless it might be a little bass. I think it's a little bass actually. Oh yeah. Man, look at that. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun little stick. I can already tell. What I would really like to find is a nice chunky bluegill. That's what I thought it was at first. But I'll take this fish. I mean, I popped him right in the nose. There you go. A little tiny 1.75 pound line. Got to be really careful even with little fish like this. This is true ultralight fishing, my friends. Very excited to continue to test this rod and reel out and share more about it in the future. See you, buddy. Is that a fish? That was a weird bite. All of a sudden he just had it. I picked up my jig and he just had it. 2 fish in a row. It's another bass. Look at that. Got to be real careful with the drag on this. You know, we do not want to be snapping off. There you go, my friends. You know, as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I've gotten really into like 6-pound braid, 5-pound braid. And going down to this line is going to be something I have to be very careful with because I'm used to the braid and it gives you a little bit more strength, obviously. It's stronger and you can definitely get away with horsing fish a little bit. This line, I do not want to be horsing fish because I will snap it. This is good. This is a good test. And there are definitely pros and cons of every line type. And this line right here, I'm telling you, it can cast light lures really far. There he is. I felt that bite just kind of squirm down the line a little bit. Is that another bass? Man, it's just all bass so far. I can't believe I haven't caught a bluegill or a sunfish of some type. Now I'd say the interesting thing about this line is, despite the fact that it's like a high vis, honestly it's extremely invisible. Like it almost looks clear when it gets down to the lure, but once it's on the spool, it's high vis. So I'm not at all concerned with the fish being able to see the line. It's so thin and it basically disappears in the water. So I like the high vis. It makes it a lot easier for me from a line management standpoint. There is a tremendous benefit to using lower diameter line than other people that fish because it makes it just harder for those fish to resist. Number one, it changes the rate of fall, it changes the action, it improves the action. The other thing is the fish have a harder time seeing it, and so pressured bodies of water you're going to have an advantage. It's that simple. You will absolutely have an advantage because the fish are likely used to seeing fishing lures. They're used to seeing hooks. They're used to seeing line. And so while they're still willing to bite a lot of times, they're most willing to bite when it looks more natural and when it stands out a little bit as like a less suspicious option, we'll say. So I would just say if you're an ultralight fisherman, you stand to do quite well in public ponds. But the lighter line you use and the lower diameter you use and the more invisible it is, the better you're probably going to do. There's another bass. Man, it's just all bass. I might need to lighten my drag just a hair. This drag is not, there we go. Probably, just gotta dial it in, my friends, gotta dial it in. Getting used to the reel, getting used to the line. Takes a little bit of getting used to. I can't believe it. All we've caught is dinky bass. I really would like a big bluegill in my life. I'm not going to complain about dinky bass. They're fun on this setup, that is for sure. But I want to catch a big old pumpkin seed or a big old bluegill. I'll tell you what, the other advantage of this light line is truly the castability. And why is that important for pond fishing or bank fishing? Well, if you can cast really small lures a little bit further than other people, that gives you access to potentially new fish. Fish that aren't used to seeing that light, slow rate of fall quite a ways off the bank. The fact that I can zing this thing out there, I don't know how far it is. I'm not very good at figuring out distances, but it is a lot farther. Oh man, I just got pelted. It is a lot further than I'm used to casting a 1/64 ounce jig, I can tell you that. So the fact that I can get it out there into areas where a lot of people would never be able to put this presentation is a huge advantage. Generally speaking, I'm a believer in that the smaller, lower rate of fall lures that you throw generally equals more fish. I'm not saying bigger fish always, but I'm saying more fish. If you can get something out there way off the bank that's really, really slow falling and it's just this small, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to catch bluegill, crappie, bass, the list goes on. A lot of fish just can't resist those little micro presentations, but sometimes what hinders the ability to catch more fish is the ability to get it way out there into the strike zone. And this line, I'm telling you, it's quite unbelievable. I'm very impressed so far because this line is getting it out there way further than I would have expected. And this is a 5'5" rod. This is a short rod. Bank fishing, you have to, oh yeah, what's this? You have to try to take every advantage you can because you're at a disadvantage, you know, just based on the fact that you can't access a lot of the water. That's actually a decent little bass, and there's a stick right there. I'm trying to keep them away from it. Kind of hard when you only have so much you can horse the fish. Decent bass for ultralight. I would take a fish like this on sub 2 pound test any day of the week. So I'm just trying to be delicate about reeling him in. Yeah, he's a little chunk. A true bass fisherman would be like, this fish I would reel in 2 cranks, but when you're using this gear, it takes a little bit more effort. Plus he bit on a long cast, which definitely adds to the fight. All right, so I'm just using a True Chartreuse Donkey Tail Junior and a 1/64 ounce mule jig, and I'm zinging it out there and I'm catching little chunky bass. See, buddy? That one looks a little weird. It's got some marks on his side. Okay, that bird just hit my line. Do not damage my line, bird. All these dang birds that fly real low to the water's surface. That one literally ran into my line. He couldn't see it. Okay, these birds need to chill. I must be next to their nest or something. Oh, there's a fish. I popped it out of some grass and this fish hammered it. That was weird. I had some like moss on it and I was popping it free and then a bass slurped it. That's not uncommon, I'll tell you. Bass love to hit things right after you pop them free. Yeah, I really need to dial in this drag. I'm wondering about this drag on this reel. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of reading on this reel because I think this fish should be pulling just a wee bit more drag. That's my best bass yet. Gotta be careful, gotta be careful. Look at that rod. This is a solid tip rod, which is why I was super thrilled when I picked it up. This thing is a sick little stick. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're doing it, man. We're doing it. JDM gear, JDM Ultralight, fancy stuff. Catching some bass. Not the biggest fish in the world, but on this rod, they feel like dadgum 5-pounders on a traditional bass rod. Funny how that works. If you want to have more fun fishing, just use lighter gear, my friends. It's that simple. It's not a hard math equation. All right, bub, I'm gonna have to toss him a little bit. There's a little bit of moss right here. I want to make sure he can swim away easily. It is funny how many comments I get where people are just hating on the fact that I throw bass in sometimes. It's like, come on. I mean, I can toss a bass a little bit. It's gonna be okay. These fish are stronger than you're giving them credit for. I am never abusing fish by any means, but if you toss them off the bank a little bit, it's gonna be okay. I would rather toss it past some moss and have them get to a spot where they can swim away with ease than just drop them delicately into the moss where they're gonna struggle to swim out. It is funny though, it is funny. Another fish. Dadgum, I am popping the bass today. Come on. This is definitely another bass because he is not doing circles. If it was a bluegill or a sunfish, they would do circles. They turn their body sideways and they just kind of do that traditional panfish fight. And that, my friends, is a nice chunky bass, about the same size as the last one. I have not moved very far at all today. I've been fishing the same exact spot this whole time, and I'm catching a bunch of fish. And I gotta be honest with you, this place is usually decent to me, but I can't say that I've ever caught this many fish in one little spot. And I'm gonna give credit to the line a little bit. The other thing that I'm gonna give credit to is the fact that we've got good conditions. It's springtime. Oh man, he's kind of in the junk. I don't know how I'm pulling this fish up here, but I am. It's springtime. The conditions are right. We got a little bit of rain. It's overcast. Nobody else is here right now because I think people are like, I'm gonna stay home. It's kind of windy and cold, but it's paying off for me to be out here because I think these fish are feeding up before it starts to rain again. Gotta love it, my friends. Gotta love it. Oh my gosh, I was really cranking this in. This fish came and just completely T-boned it. I was literally cranking it in. Golly. And that's actually not a bad fish either. Dadgum. Something about that spot. I don't think people can cast it out there to that spot very much unless they're using like a larger bass presentation. These fish are not used to seeing a little micro presentation over there. And I am zinging this little jig over there and I am just popping them now. Oh man. I was literally cranking this thing in like 100 miles an hour and this fish just completely stopped it in its tracks. Oh, that was awesome. That was a good feeling right there, my friends. Well, I certainly think there's something to JDM gear. I'm hopeful that the domestic market just continues to make it more and more available domestically as opposed to having to buy stuff from Japan. I feel like that's kind of a pain for the customer. And I think it is becoming more and more a thing here. So I would say probably safe to assume more of this kind of gear is going to be available domestically over time. But for now, I did have to order this stuff from Japan. So we'll see. Now I've got a hook in my pants, so that's good. So I definitely could just keep fishing this little tiny stretch of bank right here and keep catching bass. I know it. But I want to catch a dadgum bluegill or pumpkin seed. So I'm going to move down just a little bit further and hope that I can find some of them sunfish, my friends. I haven't caught that many sunfish this year, and I miss them. I love sunfish. You guys know this. And this rod and reel, I can't help but think about this thing as a total bluegill rod and reel. This is going to be a bluegill setup. Very excited about it. Let's get going. Oh my gosh. I literally saw my bait disappear about 6 feet off the bank, and I just caught my micro bass of the day. There you go. The micro bass of the day, my friends. Look at that thing. It's just like a little finger. Hey, buddy. As far as how I'm fishing this, you know, really I'm just casting it out there and drifting it around, just trying to maintain, you know, a kind of semi-taut line, you know, really just trying to keep it above the vegetation. It's a pretty shallow pond, so I'm just kind of twitching it up, reeling up my slack, twitching it up, reeling up my slack, but then just letting it kind of drift. And several of the fish are going to bite when it's just kind of drifting around, and then a couple of the fish have bit when I actually am moving it, so it just shows that they're actively feeding. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to fish this today. I think the fish would pretty well react to anything, but for me, my comfort zone is just kind of drifting and twitching it, and just trying to keep it out of the weeds. Oh, dadgummit. There he is. There it is. That's what I wanted. I had a little short strike and I waited about 5 seconds and he came back. And that is a nice big, is that a bluegill or is it a pumpkin? It's a pumpkin. I think it might be a hybrid. Can't tell. Oh baby, I think it's just a straight up pumpkin. Yeah, look at that. Straight up pumpkin seed right there, my friends. I actually don't even know if I've got a pumpkin seed yet this year. That is so sad. I love pumpkin seeds so much. This fish is so daggum gorgeous. Oh no. Okay, well, so I just dropped that fish and caught the line on my arm, and it snapped the line. Fortunately, he landed on the bank, so I didn't lose my jig. All right, see you, buddy. Probably a good thing. Probably needed to retie anyways. But here's where it's going to be challenging. My hands are all slimy and wet, and this line is so thin. I got to tie another knot. This stuff is not easy to manage. Kind of wish I didn't have to tie another knot, but it is what it is. That would be a snag. Oh, shoot. Usually I don't snag the light jigs like this, but I think I just hit it at the right angle. 1/64 ounce jig is very easy to avoid snags with because it's such a slow falling jig. And if you work it properly, you shouldn't deal with too many snags. It's when you start using too heavy a jigs is when you start getting more snags. But in this case, that one's busted. All right, I'm gonna retie real quick. I love how this little box fits in a fanny pack so nicely. Just gonna grab something that I have pre-rigged here. We'll just go with this little guy right here. It's a little 1/64 ounce jig with a Karma colored Mule Minnow 1.2. Oh man, big old crappie. How about that? There you go, another species. I dropped it right next to that little stick up, and sure enough, there was a little slabby right there. Nothing too big, but I don't catch very many crappie here, so it's nice to see one. Not a bad little crappie. By no means a big old slab, but it's a nice fish. I catch a handful of crappie out here, but just not that many. So it's nice to see this guy. See you, buddy. All right. Well, where there's one crappie, there ought to be two. I got to get going here shortly, but I'm gonna make a couple more little casts, just see what happens. It's got to be another. It's got to be another. Yep, another crappie. Sure enough, my friends, sure enough. This one looks, I think, a little bigger. About maybe a little bigger, about the same size probably. This is a nice, pleasant little surprise. Hello, Mr. Crappies. Well, hello there. Aren't you a nice little pleasant surprise? How about that? Switch to a little Mule Minnow 1.2, drop it next to a little tree. 2 crappie, 2 casts. See you, bud. All right, well, where there's 2 crappie, there ought to be 3 crappie, huh? Come on. Pretty small little strike zone, so it might not be a ton of fish, but sure would be cool if I caught another. Another one. It's got to be another crappie. Yep. 4 casts, 3 fish. You like that? You like to see that, my friends. Crappie are like this, man. You just make the same cast over and over and over again, and you just catch them. Little peanut. Hey, bud. All right. Love to see it, my friends. You love to see it. This rod would be a lot of fun to catch about a 14-inch slab on. But I will take these little 9-inchers. Is that gonna be another crappie or is that gonna be a bass? I think this is gonna be a bass. Oh no, it's crappie. It's crappie. Made a little bit further cast that time. He's over there, a little bit further than his buddies. Still on that same stick up, just in a little bit different position. There you go. Now I need to make a cast, that same cast again. That's actually, I think, my biggest one. They're all roughly the same size, but I think that fish is actually my biggest yet. These crappie, my friends, gotta love them. I just love the way a crappie bites. Look at that beautiful fish. Beauty. Okay, come on, one more fish, one more fish, one more fish. There he is. This is gonna be the crappie to end on, my friends. How about that? Well, this JDM gear is definitely fun. I really, as much as this line is a little bit more to manage, just because it's so light, I do think it makes a difference, and I think it's a good line. All right. Hey, the sun's peeking out. That feels good. Well, they like that little peanut, my friends. Little tiny minnow. Several crappie, all in the matter of about 5 minutes. Gotta love that. Okay, well, I tell you what, I was out here for a whopping hour and a half and I caught a lot of fish, mostly bass, but then we ended it with those crappie, which was obviously wonderful. Thankful to have caught one pumpkin seed. I can't believe I only caught one, but I caught one, so that's good. This JDM gear, my friends, it's fancy. Yeah, I don't necessarily think you need to buy gear from Japan. I think you can catch a lot of fish with stuff just locally sourced. That being said, I'm glad I tested it. I think it'll help continue to make me more and more of an ultralight resource for you to have a better understanding of everything that's available on the market. I think it allows me to give you better feedback for when you're curious about what gear you should pick up. So as always, don't hesitate to reach out if you're curious about what, you know, ultralight rod might be for you, what reel might be for you, what line might be for you. I am happy to be a resource there. Feel free to drop a comment below. Otherwise, Instagram DMs are always wonderful as well. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. And stay tuned, this rod video. I will be making a video specifically on this rod very soon. See ya.